Are you ready to dive into a world so steeped in tradition that it might just leave you speechless? Picture ancient customs passed down through centuries, woven into the very fabric of a nation's identity. Today, we're exploring 12 Mongolian taboos that have baffled, intrigued, and astonished people from around the globe. What makes them so surprising? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll never see Mongolia or its remarkable culture the same way again. Hey everyone, Lucas here, your friendly explorer from Unmasked Planet. Welcome to the channel that uncovers the world's most fascinating traditions and cultural wonders. If you love discovering hidden corners of our amazing planet, you're in the right place. Before we get started, comment below with this phrase: "My curiosity is unstoppable." Let's unite our unstoppable spirits and delve into Mongolia's astonishing taboos together. Mongolia, often referred to as the land of the eternal blue sky, is a place of sweeping steppes, towering mountains, and a heritage that echoes with the legacy of Genghis Khan and his formidable empire. But beyond its dramatic landscapes and epic history, Mongolia possesses a tapestry of cultural norms that govern everyday life, some so strict and unusual that outsiders find them downright shocking. From how you enter a GR, the traditional Mongolian yurt, to the words you speak when greeting a local, these codes of conduct are interwoven with centuries of tradition. Why do these taboos matter so much? In Mongolia, customs are not merely formalities. They're believed to uphold balance, harmony, and respect within the community. Passing these traditions down from generation to generation ensures that Mongolian identity remains intact. It's a fascinating blend of ancient spiritual beliefs, nomadic practicality, and an unwavering sense of pride. Let's set the stage by exploring why Mongolia has historically been able to maintain such distinct cultural markers. One factor lies in Mongolia's vast geography. The endless steppes and isolation from the rest of the world fostered self-sufficient communities, each preserving its own rituals. Over time, these rituals evolved into sacred practices, binding families and clans across immense distances. The notion of taboo itself is often connected to either superstition or deeply rooted moral and social codes. In Mongolia, both play a role. Traditional Mongolian beliefs involve Tengerism, a spiritual practice centered on the worship of Tenger, or Tengri, the sky deity, and reverence for nature's spirits. As the Mongol Empire expanded, these core beliefs fused with influences from Buddhism, shamanism, and later, global religions. The result? A unique cultural mosaic where certain actions are considered far more than mere faux pas. They're direct affronts to spiritual harmony. How do these ancient taboos stand the test of the modern era? Surprisingly, quite firmly. Even in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia's bustling capital, many people still feel bound by cultural etiquette passed down by their elders. In rural areas, where traditions are preserved more meticulously, breaking a taboo might invite the wrath of local deities or ancestors. At least that's the popular belief, and many Mongolians would prefer not to risk it. Before we reveal the first set of Mongolian taboos, let's consider what makes a taboo truly shocking. It usually challenges outsiders' expectations of normal behavior. For instance, Westerners are used to plenty of casual expressions, from leaning on tables to whistling indoors. In Mongolia, some of these commonplace actions can be perceived as deeply disrespectful. If you're planning a trip there or just want to appreciate the depth of another culture, it's crucial to understand these nuances. This cultural sensitivity extends beyond the GR's door. It influences how you handle everyday objects, how you address elders, and even how you speak about nature. For nomadic herders who rely on the land for survival, there's an immense spiritual significance assigned to every facet of daily life. Harmony with nature isn't just poetic talk, it's a direct reflection of one's standing with the divine forces that shepherd Mongolia's environment. In the next part of this video, we'll break down these taboos one by one, unmasking the reasons behind their existence and why they can cause such a stir among visitors. Some might be purely practical, stemming from centuries of nomadic living. Others border on the mystical, linked to ancient beliefs that still hold sway over everyday activities. Think of these 12 taboos as portals into Mongolia's soul. Each taboo reveals something about the Mongolian worldview: a reverence for the land, a deep respect for community, and an unyielding desire to remain true to ancestral customs. Whether you find these taboos surprising, enlightening, or downright confusing, they collectively form a vital thread in the tapestry of Mongolian culture. So, buckle up, or should I say fasten your deal, the traditional Mongolian robe, because we're about to embark on a journey that defies convention and invites us to see life from an entirely new vantage point. By the end of this series, you'll not only know which 12 habits to avoid on your next Mongolian adventure, but you'll also gain deeper insight into how taboos shape the collective psyche of an entire nation. Ready to dive in further? Let's get to our first group of taboos. Take note, some of these may sound exotic, while others might make you question everything you thought you knew about hospitality and respect. We'll kick things off with 4 taboos that directly reflect the Mongolian approach to home, hospitality, and communal respect. These actions, if broken, can cause serious offenses to your Mongolian hosts, or at the very least, raise a few eyebrows. Taboo 1. Stepping on the threshold of a jur. Imagine you're entering a traditional jur. Its low entrance forces you to bow slightly, a subtle act of reverence for the household. But there's a crucial rule: never step on the threshold. For Mongolians, the threshold is more than just a piece of wood or raised flooring. It symbolizes a protective boundary between the outside world and the private, sacred space within. Stepping on it is seen as an insult to the hosts and even to the spirits watching over the home. Historically, some believed that harming the threshold might let evil spirits slip inside. While modern families may not always voice the supernatural reasons, the custom endures. If you visit, watch your step. Taboo 2. Whistling indoors. Whistling a tune might seem harmless or even cheerful in many cultures. But in Mongolia, doing it inside someone's home or ger is considered a call to misfortune. Some say it can summon malevolent spirits or invite financial hardship upon the household. Others believe it simply disturbs the calm energy of the home. Either way, if you're the type who unconsciously whistles a jingle, you might want to rein it in when traveling here. Taboo 3. Pointing with one finger. We often don't think twice about pointing at someone or something with our index finger. But in Mongolian tradition, this gesture can be construed as rude or even aggressive, akin to wagging your finger in someone's face. Instead, Mongolians prefer to gesture with an ba seat, open palm or a slight nod of the head to indicate a direction or object. The logic behind this taboo is rooted in respect and humility. In a culture that deeply values harmony, an accusatory or demanding point feels offensive, as though you're singling out or scolding the subject of your gesture. Taboo 4. Touching. Another person's hats hold an almost sacred status in Mongolia, especially among nomads who spend much of their life outdoors. Traditional headgear not only shields from harsh weather, but also carries symbolic weight, signifying status, regional identity, or familial heritage. Touching someone else's hat without permission is deemed disrespectful, almost like invading personal space. Mongolians believe your head and hat are intimately connected to your personal dignity and spiritual well-being. So if you're curious about a friend's snazzy hat, it's better to ask first than to casually plop it onto your own head. What ties these 4 taboos together is the concept of respect. In Mongolia, respect isn't just a nice ideal, it's a daily practice. Whether you're mindful of how you step into a home or how you gesture during conversation, these small but potent customs reinforce social harmony. For travelers, failing to observe them doesn't just lead to awkward moments. It can result in genuine offense or mistrust. Let's go deeper. One of the fascinating aspects of these taboos is how they're taught from a young age. Children growing up in Mongolia learn about respecting thresholds, hats, and the sacred quiet of the jir long before they can fully articulate the reasons. It becomes second nature. As outsiders, we can't expect to fully integrate these norms overnight. But awareness is a sign of genuine curiosity and courtesy, 2 qualities Mongolians deeply appreciate. It's also worth noting that many of these taboos reflect nomadic life. Nomads rely on mutual understanding and cooperation to survive the challenges of nature. Keeping the Jer's interior orderly and respectful is part of that cultural ethic. You never know who might need hospitality on the steppe. Open doors and unstepped thresholds can be life-saving when the winter storms roll in. Thus, these customs aren't arbitrary. They're deeply tied to survival and community cohesion. That said, does every Mongolian strictly follow each taboo? With global influences and modern lifestyles, especially in urban areas, some traditions have loosened. However, even progressive city dwellers often observe these customs, especially during special occasions like weddings, Lunar New Year celebrations, or visits to elders. They recognize that upholding these conventions preserves a shared identity, bridging past and present. So, if you're exploring the countryside or staying with a local family, keep these first 4 taboos in mind. A little cultural sensitivity goes a long way in forging genuine connections. Who knows, you might earn yourself an honored spot by the stove, sharing bowls of hot milk tea and hearty mutton soup with new friends who appreciate your respectful approach. Ready for more? In the next block, we'll uncover the next 4 Mongolian taboos. Some might surprise you with their deep ties to Buddhism and shamanistic practices, while others remain purely practical, shaped by Mongolia's rigorous climate and nomadic lifestyle. Stay tuned and remember, never, ever step on that threshold. Let's continue our journey by uncovering 4 more taboos that take us deeper into Mongolia's spiritual and societal framework. These revolve around themes of ancestry, communal harmony, and the delicate balance between people and nature. Taboo 5. Offering items with the left hand. In Mongolian culture, as in many Asian societies, the right hand is considered the clean or respectful hand, while the left hand can be associated with impurity. When you present someone with a gift, a cup of tea, or even a simple object, you're expected to use your right hand or both hands together as a show of respect. Handing something over with your left hand alone can come across as careless or even insulting, hinting that the recipient isn't worthy of a properly bestowed offering. Though some Mongolians might dismiss it as an outdated custom, traditional families and rural communities still take it seriously. Taboo 6. Touching the threshold. When you sit, we've already discussed not stepping on the threshold of a ger, but another lesser-known extension of that taboo involves sitting near or touching it. Mongolian girs typically have a central space for a stove or fire, surrounded by seating areas. The threshold, being the entrance, is considered a transitional zone. By leaning against it or sitting right on top of it, you disrupt the sacred boundary that keeps the inside pure. Many elders warn that doing so can bring disharmony or misfortune to the household. In older times, it was also a pragmatic rule. The threshold area was prone to cold drafts. Sitting there made you vulnerable to the harsh weather, undermining the sense of a protected interior. Taboo 7. Refusing traditional hospitality. In the Mongolian countryside, hospitality is more than politeness. It's an unwritten social contract. When a stranger arrives, even unannounced, the host is expected to offer a seat, tea, and often a plate of arul, dried curds, or other snacks. Refusing this hospitality can be seen as a snub. It's not just about turning down food. It's about rejecting the kindness and respect of your host, breaking the unspoken pact of mutual assistance that has historically kept nomadic communities alive. This taboo highlights how crucial communal support is when survival depends on collective effort. So if you're offered fermented mare's milk, arag, or a bowl of salty milk tea, at least take a polite sip. Taboo 8. Showing disrespect. To the fire for a nomadic herder living on the frigid steppe, fire isn't merely a source of warmth. It's life itself. Traditional beliefs hold that the hearth fire is inhabited by an elemental spirit, one that should never be angered. Throwing garbage into the fire, spitting on it, or extinguishing it carelessly are major no-nos. Even if you're not spiritually inclined, treat the stove or fireplace with reverence. In older times, Mongolians believed that angering the fire spirit could drive it away, leaving you vulnerable to icy nights and a lack of sustenance. On a practical level, Many resources go into gathering fuel in such a harsh environment, so it's also about conserving a precious commodity. How do these taboos impact foreigners or city-dwelling Mongolians who might not rely on a traditional jur? First, there's a strong sense of pride in cultural heritage across Mongolia, and these values still echo in modern homes. Even in an apartment in Ulaanbaatar, you'll find families who carefully observe certain customs, especially during important gatherings or holidays like Tsagansar, Lunar New Year. Fire might be replaced by a modern stove or even a simple gas burner, but the principle of respect remains. Another point to consider is how these taboos intersect with Mongolia's spiritual tapestry. While Buddhism is the dominant religion, shamanistic and Tengarist traditions persist, particularly in rural regions. Many Mongolians still consult shamans for blessings, especially for significant life events, weddings, births, or big journeys. In these ceremonies, each taboo carries added weight. Breaking them could be interpreted as a direct affront to the spirits being petitioned for protection or prosperity. One might wonder, are these beliefs diminishing with the younger generation? There's certainly a global trend toward modernization, and Mongolian youth are no exception. Yet cultural pride remains robust. Television programs, documentaries, and school curriculums emphasize the importance of understanding and preserving ancestral customs. While some younger Mongolians may adopt a relaxed view, they often still observe these rules around elders or during traditional festivals. It's a balancing act between embracing the global community and honoring one's roots. If you're planning a visit, take these customs to heart. Showing genuine respect for local norms can open doors, literally and figuratively. Hosts who see that you're making an effort will likely go out of their way to make your stay memorable. They'll share stories, traditions, and maybe even teach you how to properly prepare Mongolian dishes. That's a cultural exchange you won't want to miss. We have 4 more taboos to go, each offering a glimpse into Mongolia's deeper spiritual underpinnings and its relationship to the land. If you've been intrigued so far, prepare to be even more surprised by the final set. From superstitions surrounding certain words you should never utter, to careful etiquette about the sacredness of water, Mongolia's taboos speak volumes about how a people can forge an unbreakable bond with their environment and ancestors. Stick around for the grand reveal of these last 4 taboos in the next section. By then, you'll have the complete picture of Mongolia's 12 most shocking and fascinating cultural prohibitions. We're nearing the end of our exploration. Let's unmask the final 4 Mongolian taboos, which pull back the curtain on the country's profound reverence for nature, words, and social harmony. Once we've covered these, we'll tie everything together and reflect on how these customs continue to shape Mongolian identity. Taboo 9: Avoiding heavy words. In Mongolia, certain words related to death, illness, or evil are believed to carry negative energy. Traditionally, people avoid speaking them outright, especially in casual conversation or inside a gyr. Doing dai so is thought to invite misfortune or attract the very thing you name. Instead, Mongolians use euphemisms or indirect expressions. For instance, rather than saying someone died, a more poetic phrase like, "they took the eternal road," might be used. This linguistic caution underscores a broader cultural tendency toward positivity and spiritual mindfulness. Taboo 10: Throwing trash into rivers or lakes. Mongolians have a deep respect for water sources. The country's environment can be unforgiving, and fresh water is crucial for both people and livestock. Throwing trash or washing unclean items in rivers and lakes is considered a grave offense, not just environmentally harmful, but also spiritually blasphemous. Water is seen as living and sacred, often presided over by local spirits or loose water deities. Polluting these waters can anger those spirits, resulting in calamities like droughts or depleted resources. In a practical sense, it's also about conserving the limited water supply that sustains life on the steppe. Taboo 11: Turning your back on an altar or sacred object. Many Mongolian homes, gyrs, and temples have altars to Buddha, ancestral spirits, or shamanic totems. These sacred spaces are treated with the utmost respect. While it's not always realistic, to face the altar at all times, deliberately turning your back on it, especially if you're making gestures or loud comments, can be seen as irreverent. Some families, particularly those who follow Buddhism closely, will place the altar in a spot that you naturally see upon entering, guiding you to pay respect without any contrived effort. Taboo 12. Sleeping with your feet toward the stove or family shrine. The orientation of one's body while sleeping might seem trivial, but not in Mongolia. If you're a guest in a traditional jur, it's customary to position yourself so that your head faces the most honored part of the jur, often the altar or the seat of the elder. Pointing your feet at the stove or the family shrine is considered disrespectful, implying you're metaphorically kicking what provides warmth, nourishment, or spiritual protection. In a broader sense, this taboo reflects the belief that everything in the jir, down to the direction you rest, should maintain a sense of balance and reverence. Now that we've unveiled all 12 taboos, what can we learn from them? They're certainly rooted in practicality, spiritual beliefs, and social etiquette. If you step back, you'll notice a common theme: the high value placed on respect for elders, for the home, for nature, for spiritual forces, and for community bonds. Mongolia's environment has historically been harsh, pushing its people to develop customs that preserve harmony and mutual support. In a modern context, these taboos continue to matter because they function as cultural anchors. Even if some Mongolians don't believe in the literal spiritual consequences of stepping on a threshold or whistling indoors, they still adhere to these rules as a mark of identity. They serve as daily reminders of Mongolia's nomadic heritage and spiritual lineage. For many, breaking these taboos feels akin to turning away from one's roots, a step not taken lightly. From a traveler's perspective, awareness is key. Knowing these customs enriches your interactions and helps you navigate cultural spaces with empathy. You'll find that Mongolians are extremely hospitable, and any honest effort you make to understand their ways will be met with warmth and appreciation. A simple gesture, like using both hands to offer a cup of tea, can spark a moment of genuine connection. Moreover, learning about these taboos highlights the diversity of global cultures and challenges us to think about the invisible rules in our own societies. Every culture has its share of do's and don'ts, often taken for granted until viewed through an outsider's lens. Mongolia's customs might seem daunting at first, but they offer a unique window into a world shaped by raw natural forces, deep spiritual roots, and a collective dedication to unity. As we conclude this thematic deep dive, remember that taboos aren't just archaic rules. They're living traditions, dynamic in their relevance and practice. Mongolia's 12 taboos aren't set in stone. They evolve as the country modernizes. Still, their core essence remains: an unwavering respect that ties people, land, and spirit together in an enduring tapestry of culture. And there you have it, 12 Mongolian taboos that have sparked countless questions and astonishment from travelers around the world. From never stepping on the jir's threshold to showing gratitude for even the simplest form of hospitality, these rules illuminate the heart of Mongolian culture. They remind us that traditions are powerful forces that can unite communities, shape identities, and guide daily life in both subtle and profound ways. Think about how these customs resonate with your own experiences. Are there taboos or unspoken rules in your culture that might seem surprising to outsiders? Perhaps you've encountered something similar while traveling. The beauty of exploring other societies lies in discovering such parallels and contrasts, building empathy and curiosity. Mongolia, with its vast landscapes and enduring customs, invites us to slow down and appreciate the deeper connections between people and nature. If you want to continue your cultural exploration, I recommend checking out the video on screen now, where we dive into another set of amazing traditions from around the globe. You won't want to miss it. Just click or tap to keep the journey going. Before you go, I have one final request. Comment below with the phrase, "Respect the spirit" of the land. By sharing this, you're not only engaging with the community, but also acknowledging the profound bond between tradition and environment that Mongolians hold dear. Let's spark a conversation about cultural respect and how we can honor the customs that shape who we are, no matter where we come from. Thank you for joining me, Lucas, on this deep dive into Mongolia's most astonishing taboos. Here on Unmasked Planet, we strive to unearth the world's hidden gems and cherished customs, showing that every corner of our planet has a story worth telling. Until next time, stay curious, stay respectful, and keep exploring the countless wonders our world has to offer. Safe travels, everyone.